Sergeant America coming at you. Boom! As always, I'm struggling, I'm dragging, and I'm late to the party. But being late to the party, you get to hear about the best of the best as everybody talks about it as it happens, and then you forget a little bit. But in the back of your mind, you remember something. So, Martian Manhunter. Almost called him Martian. Whoosh. Martin Manhunter. Martian Manhunter. Um, I really don't know a lot about him. Just or was it Super Friends was kind of my entry into the DC universe way back in late 70s, early 80s. Love that cartoon Justice League kind of feel. Where they used, the core members of Batman, Superman, Robin, Aquaman, and then, Black Lightning was in, kind of a fringe character, and the Samurai, and Red Tornado was rare. So Martian Manhunter was even more rare than that. I would see a little bit of him in some Justice League comic books, which I really wasn't reading much of at the time. And so it was interesting that I started rewatching Young Justice and a couple other things on Netflix that would talk about him. So I was starting to get an idea who he was, a little bit of his origin story. So this was kind of interesting. This is Volume 1, The Epiphany, Rob Williams, Eddie Barrows, Eber Fiera, and Gabe Eltonub. And let's see, so it was written by Rob Williams and in pencils by Barrows and Neves, inks by Fiera and Deering, and color by the Eltonub. So this is a retelling of his origin, or what we've seen a lot of is they've given us an intro to him, they've told us their origin, and now we're starting to see stories that I think are really meant for people who have been reading for a while, saying this is the true story of the Manhunter. We just recently saw that with Deadshot. We're seeing it more and more as all these, I almost want to say rebirths of the character, as they reintroduce a next generation of readers to it. They take out maybe some of the things that were glossed over, were easy tropes maybe, and are now putting more of an edge to it, or putting a little bit more depth to it, or more science to it. So this is another introduction. We see Martian Manhunter. He is plagued by some idea or some knowledge is coming, and so he puts out a scream basically to the Justice League, and then he kind of falls away into the storyline as other people start rising up. Without wanting to spoil too much, the other people are aspects of the Manhunter. I'll let you read that to get more knowledge about it. We are introduced to a whole group of villains in the storyline. Very reminiscent to me of kind of the Shield storylines, or some of those where you have a group of people as opposed to just one villain. So I very much enjoyed that. There's characters like Mr. Biscuits. We have an FBI agent, and then Manhunter himself. All of these I thought were well written, very strong. I cared about them. I want to know more about them, which is all the things I guess you would want in a storyline. And put into this first arc, I thought was very intelligent. I jumped on it once it came out in trade. As all my friends told me, of course, I should have picked up single issues. By the time I really convinced myself, to go ahead and go back and read it, 1 and 2 were a little tough to find. So, at that point, I usually just go to trades. Like I said, it's a strong book. I hear the second arc, of course, is a little down compared to the first one, but this first one is very good. It is a nice origin. It is an excellent point for people to jump on. The character, which is interesting, he is very powerful. And while those are things that sometimes are a negative to me, when it comes to Superman, I do like it. I so far I like it with Manhunter, um, and maybe I think it comes down to the writer. It's always about using all of the tools available, which has always been, I think, the thing that upset me about Superman is with freeze breath, with heat vision, with his speed. There is all these things that he has. That when you don't use them all, it seems to weaken the character, or it just creates too many, why didn't he do this thing? Manhunter, whoever writes them, always seems to incorporate all those things, which has got to be difficult. Like I said, the more powers you give somebody, the harder it is to challenge the character. What they've done to create chaos in Manhunter's life helps out with that, so that the character is not overly strong, developing, and so you get that origin feel without really having to go back to a zero issue. So what don't want to start repeating myself, coming up past 6 minutes, never want to make these too long. It's crazy to do this in the day. I'm not usually doing these. Just thankful. I hope if you haven't read this already that you are starting to read it. Like I said, amazing book. And catchphrase.